Is it going finally? I think it's going now. Hi. Hey. We're delayed. Sorry, y'all. I got to chatting with my partner, my husband. It's kind of it's an interesting day around my house today. It's usually been, lately my Mondays have been really relaxing and kind of easy, but today there's a lot of just like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on personally, and just like in my community. God, there's a lot going on in the world. So today just doesn't feel as like easy and light as the last few Mondays have been, but I'm glad y'all are all here with me. Hi, Chronically Coloring, welcome. How's it going? Yeah, I think you're right. The world is heavy. This is so the world is heavy. And you know what? I don't I want to make like space for that for a moment and kind of give like permission. We're online and all of that, but really, like, the world is heavy. Things are hard. We're feeling discombobulated here in my house this morning. So we're all in it together, but just a moment to kind of like inhale and exhale, maybe. I'm gonna eat my lunch. My lunch is sandwich and chips. Pretty easy lunch today. Again, here's why I love treating eating disorders, because food and our bodies are really a great like gauge of our emotions, right? And kind of how we're doing like mentally, and food and appetite and our stomachs and like how our bodies really feel are a big part of that. I think that's a great like clue. So my body personally today, with all the heaviness, just I shared there's a lot going on like personally, community wise, just like it affects my appetite. It affects, right, when we're stressed, when we're anxious, when we're overwhelmed, when we're depressed, our appetite does get kind of like, it does get affected by all of that. So I also try to be really authentic on these things and show up as I am. So, I'm eating a sandwich and chips today. It's not like, it's pretty good. I eat it most weeks, but I'm just really trying to get through lunch today. What do y'all have to eat? If you're new, joining me here, hi, welcome. I'm Stephanie Waite. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a certified eating disorder specialist. And I go live on Mondays for a little bit to kind of hang out with all of y'all on social media. We go live on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, right? To eat for a few minutes and kind of like hang out. Lunch during the day can be a hard time. It's Monday, so here we are together. Overwhelmed. What'd you say, Chronically Coloring? Overwhelmed is the tough one for me to eat through. Right. And so, like, I think we're so bad about trying to fix the way that we feel and like make the way that we feel stop, that we kind of like push ourselves and force ourselves to do things, but we're really honestly allowed to feel. And sometimes we're allowed to feel overwhelmed, and the way our body reacts to that is the way our body reacts to that. And so I think it's more about being aware of how we react, right? And then how can we, take care of ourselves and show up for ourselves when we know that things are going to be hard or weird for us. No, I haven't watched that show, and I can't handle adulting. I'm so glad you said that, because I was looking for a show to binge this weekend. We ended up going, what did we get into? Inventing Anna. Is anybody watching that? It's pretty good. And we got into, after you shared that, we got really into the Tinder swindler. Wait, no, that's what had me talking about it. What else did we get into? Oh gosh, y'all, what's the woman in the window across from the person in the window, right? That weird name with Kristen Bell. I binged that in one afternoon this weekend. You've missed this? Well, welcome, Stacy Thompson. I said this last week. The last couple of Mondays I had to do something, so I wasn't available, but I'm glad we're here today. So I'm glad you mentioned 20-something, because I need to add that to my queue, because I've now watched. I still need something to watch. Watching it, Inventing Anna is pretty good. Euphoria. Love it. I think they do such a great job on that show of, it was last season, the first season, when Rue was really depressed. The way they visualize that and some of those scenes, it's just so, it's powerful. It's a really hard show to watch. I can only literally watch one episode at a time, because it's heavy, but it's so good. All those actors, they better win awards. Wasn't there an award show last night? Did anybody watch it? I usually am pretty good about watching those things. Red Squid 2 on TikTok. This is a good question. Or statement. You say, you heard our brains are not designed to make us happy. They are made to keep us alive. And I'm not going to disagree with that. Our brains are... It's like if we could give a computer, right, the ability to think for itself, and that's really what our brain is, right? It's just a computer that can think ahead. It doesn't need somebody to come in and tell it what to do. Our brain can think for itself, but the brain really is only it is an organ that learns from experience, right? It only learns. So it only knows what it's taught, what it's experienced, what it sees, what it hears, again, what you can seek out and learn on your own. And so, yeah, feelings are another part of our psyche, right? I often say what we think we feel, and what we feel, we think, but that our brains really aren't our emotions are another part of us, but our brain is going to give us the story, about how to feel or how to react or respond to that feeling or to that situation. The brain is so wild. You watched Euphoria 2 seasons in 1 week. That would totally affect my mood. One episode affects that mood. Good for you. It's so good. I can see why it's easy to do that. But to watch that many euphorias in a row, gosh, yeah, you need like a mental health, like, you go watch happy shows or something. Ugh. So can the brain make us happy? I think the brain can think about ways to feel happy, or like, think about things that make you experience a feeling of happiness, but our brains are not there to, right? Like our brains are just there to tell us how to get from like point A to point B and how to, survive it. What kind of sandwiches do I like? Not ones I make. Okay. I'm enjoying my sandwich, but I love like a hot deli sandwich, like when you go into, I don't know, like small towns have them, right? Like a sandwich shop. I love a sandwich shop sandwich. There's a couple of places in my hometown that do that. You can get a warm sandwich. Ugh, that's my favorite. And so I don't have a like specific type of sandwich. I think I like a sandwich from like a hot deli sandwich. That's right, one atom at a time. You're going to see your new therapist the end of March. You're uncomfortable talking about your eating disorder. How do I address the ED conversation? There's a lot of different ways to do that. On one hand, I would hope that your therapist has a way to assess for that. In my intake assessment, like, I don't care who you are, why you're calling to work with a therapist at our practice, including me. Everyone is asked 5 questions. This is an eating disorder screening tool. Everybody gets asked that, right? So maybe you have a therapist that has a screening tool that, because a lot of times we do like an intake assessment, right? Where we ask a whole lot of questions. We get some history, and we call it like a biopsychosocial evaluation, right? We're trying to figure out like,
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Whoa, my watch that's creepy. They're always listening. So it might come up very organically, but it is okay in that first or second session or before that first session to send an email, or again in that first session to ask this question: what type of experience do you have with an eating disorder? It is okay to say, I think I might be struggling with this. Everyone says to me, not everyone, I shouldn't use that word. Oftentimes when a new client is seeing me, their words are usually like, I'm not sure I have an eating disorder. Maybe I have an eating disorder. There's kind of this like, it is rare that someone comes in my office and they're like, I'm diagnosed with this eating disorder and I know what's going on. So it's okay to kind of say like, I think that this is also an issue for me. Especially like in those first couple of sessions, your therapist is just trying to figure out what's going on. So, you can just mention it that way, or send an email, or to ask what their experience is. Hi. Do I think that therapists are too quick to recommend a higher level of care? That's a good question. I think this is what's happened. I'm an older therapist at this point, unfortunately. So I went to school a long time ago, and we were taught to essentially not fuck around with sending people to a higher level of care. There's a lot of, especially like when I was working on my certification, there was a lot of, for eating disorders, there's such a large discussion on higher level of care. Now, it is necessary, it is important. I have sent people to treatment. I have seen treatment be what was needed and necessary and life-saving. I also believe that recovery and mental health management and mental health recovery is about learning how to take care of yourself and do life in your life, right? I tell my clients, I want to keep your butt on this couch or in your life, doing your sports, going to work, living, doing things with your family. I want all of that for you for as long as possible. It is okay that you struggle. You are allowed to feel hopeless. I think that sometimes suicidal ideation, hopelessness, right? Those feelings are a part of the work, and you have to be able to safely talk about those things. So I think now what is happening in the field is we're learning a lot about, so before it was like, if anybody's unsafe, get them safe, get them to treatment, and get them to a higher level of care. I think now what I see happening is there's a lot of, hey, let's really just assess, right? Ask questions, be curious. It's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to explore. Again, it's okay to have questions. And that is, then you can determine what's best, right? If somebody's really not safe and really not okay and can't do it on their own, and their support can't can't get them where they need to be, then yeah, we need to go to a higher level of care. But I think it's my job as a therapist is part of that assessment, right? Is to look at all of those factors, all of those options, and consider, right? Is there enough support to keep you in your life, or, right, do you need to go to a higher level of care? So is everyone quick to send people to treatment? I don't know, maybe, but I don't want to say all of us. I think that is changing. Do people have an eating disorder forever? No. Recovery is possible. And nuance, right? It's your own individual healing journey. And it is possible to heal, and it is possible to come to a place where you feel like you are not, that is not the focus, right? You can be in a place with your eating disorder recovery where it's like not a thing. It's not even like it doesn't, you don't think about it, you don't worry about it. You live your life and you take care of yourself. You had horrible experience with therapists who aren't specialized in eating disorders. I know. It can be problematic. I see it all the time. Maybe it's a good thing you weren't weighed. I don't weigh my clients, ever. You're welcome. I'm here to answer these questions. You're going to, okay. I think it takes time to open up to your therapist. I've been in therapy and I'm really an open book. And there were even things that I didn't tell my therapist. So that's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna try to break this down and bottom line it and give y'all like the nugget, right? Just gonna give y'all the meat. Therapy is about just giving you space to learn how to safely and adaptively have and own your feelings. That's it, right? And the more you do that in therapy, the more equipped and stronger you are to make changes in your life with how you respond and show up to things. That's a very oversimplified idea of therapy, but that really can be I think that is the goal and the intent and what happens. If you hate what your set point is, I'm going to tell you to work on accepting that, because it's your body. It's yours. Like it was perfectly, divinely made from the stars, given to you. That's okay. That's okay. Part of recovery is learning how to undo the oppression of diet culture in this world, right? And the messaging that we have gotten about our bodies. And so that's really what the journey and the healing is about. It's about giving yourself permission to unfuck your brain from all this shit you've been told about what your body's supposed to look like and how you're supposed to look and all of that, right? That's it. It's just deconditioning. You think everyone should be in therapy? Me too, Linda. In a Walmart store, they had to weigh themselves. I feel like that's super traumatic. Holy hell. Dang. Sorry for that. I feel really bad for that person. Sorry, Fred Recovers. I think you asked that above, and I meant to address it. Thank you for re-asking. Do I think that every other week therapy is helpful? Yeah. Here's what I tell my clients. Every week therapy has been the traditional model. It's what we've done forever and ever and ever. And so we know that way works. And that's usually when we can really, kind of roll with it and get into work, right? Because it's kind of like this consistent thing. You can do that every other week. I do say monthly is okay, but really it depends on like how you're doing, right? And how like stable and supported you feel. It's also, I know it's a financial issue. That's a lot of what happens for my clients, right? It's just that, it can be expensive to go to therapy every week. So, but every other week is effective. It really is. The part of it is, can you use that time? How are you going to use that time? Because a lot of times what happens is a lot happens in your life in 2 weeks or whatever. And so you come in and you're telling your therapist about the 2 weeks. So a lot of times it feels like catch up. So, with my every other week clients, we certainly have time for catch up, but it's also, we don't have as much time for catch up because it's more, we're going to get in and we're going to try to do the work. Yeah. You almost booked an appointment today and you got scared. Well, if you need a little like booster, motivator, I want to encourage you to do it. It's a good idea. It's okay. Therapy's cool. Any words of wisdom for someone struggling with lunch at the moment? Well, I'm glad you're here. You did the right thing. And just take bites with us, right? Like, I was sharing earlier, my appetite's kind of weird because I'm just overwhelmed and stressed and anxious today. And so, like, it feels a little more forced. So we're just going to, like, take a bite and kind of force it, right? Not force it. That sounds really, but we're doing it because it's okay for our bodies. It's okay for our brain. My body knows what to do with this food, even if I'm kind of like emotionally not into it. That doesn't mean that physically, right? My body isn't into it. Thank you. That's a good idea. Take a friend to therapy with you. I mean, they'll have to wait in the waiting room, but I've had clients that do that. That's fine. How to convince yourself that taking meds to improve mental health is okay. Well, that's mental health stigma. And we want to support mental health. We want to be advocates for mental health. And when we are advocates for mental health, that means that we believe that whatever you got to do to take care of it is okay, right? Some people need medication. I need medication. That's okay. Like it millions of people need it, and it doesn't say anything about anything. It's just that you need a medication. Next, yeah, so you're having a hard time with your meds too. You're a better person on medication, right? Is it ever okay to skip a meal? My partner from the other room yelled, not intentionally. He found the way more concise way to say that. Not intentionally. We don't shame food choices here, right? We do the best that we can. And life happens, right? We get in days and situations, and like I'm thinking about how many times I've been at like a training or a meeting and they didn't have snacks or food available. So skipping a meal intentionally to like, yeah, it is not ever good, right? That's restriction. That's hurting your body. That like, why would you restrict going to the bathroom? Would you withhold that, right? So it's really this like, it's knowing that it's not okay to be hungry, and when you're hungry, you can do something about it. And so go do something about it. And also, right, like having access to food is a thing. So, right, if you have access, great, do what you need to do to have access. Then if it's not available, I hope I'm making sense, because this is a really nuanced issue and it's a really big deal, right? That food insecurity and food resources, like that is very real for people, and that is why some people develop an eating disorder. And again, like I get being I work with a lot of nurses, I work with a lot of teachers, and it is not easy to take a break. I am so blessed and privileged that in my career, in my current situation, I'm able to give myself full meal breaks and schedule them, and it's routine. And so even if I'm having a really hard day and struggling to eat, I'm able to schedule it in, right? And so it's already made a priority in my day. It's already a thing that I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna show up and eat. Not everybody has the ability to do that. So that's okay. That's okay. How are you eating and taking care of yourself when you are able and have access to food? Hope that makes sense. Right. Anytime you make an excuse to skip a meal, it's your eating disorder, and you should never skip a meal. I mean, there is no reason for it. There is no reason for it. You skip a meal, and it's not even skipping a meal, really. It's if you're really overly full, right? Like you are full. You have eaten, right? And we are now going into that shame of feeling a binge, shame of feeling physically uncomfortable. That's okay to take a break, right? That's okay when you're like, okay, I'm going to give myself some time, let my body do its job. But it's never this, I'm going to restrict food on purpose because I want to be hungry or lose weight, or I can't eat this meal right now. That's never okay. Do I play video games? Yes. In fact, this weekend, we have an Oculus. It's the VR thing. And I got really into Beat Saber this weekend. That game is really fun. But I'm not like a gamer. Like, I don't. So, do I play video games?
You're not good at them.
No, but I'll occasionally indulge my inner child by, spending an afternoon or a couple hours on a video game anyway. Like, I'll play Animal Crossing in the evening sometimes. But it's Animal Crossing, you know what I mean? Beat Saber, those are my kinds of games, like children's games.
Kingdom of Hearts.
My partner just yelled Kingdom of Hearts. That's a good game. That's an interesting game, but I still feel like it would be too hard for me. You've been struggling and you don't know who to talk to. A therapist is a safe person. I just say that. I mean, I want you to have friends and family that you can talk to. And you can certainly do work to do that. I would recommend doing the work to do that. But I also relate to like shitty friends or, you know, people having their own stuff, right? And sometimes not being able to show up for us the way that we like want them to all the time, maybe. So a therapist is kind of always going to have your back. I love my Switch. Do it. Get one. It's a good little like hobby for me, especially like that Animal Crossing game. It's so dumb, but I love it. And like, I get caught up scrolling my cell phone too much. We all do. But I notice that it makes me feel really icky. So getting on my Switch is kind of a way to like, I don't know, still get that, I don't know, that dopamine hit maybe, but also not be scrolling social media. Ugh. Hey, my friends, this was a good chat today, but I'm looking at the time, and then I still have food to eat, and I talk too much, and I don't eat enough when I'm on here. So, I enjoyed our chat. I hope to be back next Monday. I plan on being back next Monday. It'll be March. Hang on, the last day of February. We got this. Spring is almost here. Cheers. But I'll see y'all next week.